while you're shifting. That's like exhausting for an introvert. So my passion is to agitate. I try to chisel away at changing the way that we look at, the way that we experience and feel our city streets. I lived in San Francisco in the late 90s, and I was going to art school over there, and I didn't realize it until decades later that I had my first street design experience where I felt like human beings were prioritized over cars. And that was walking down New Montgomery Street and waiting for the light to change so I can use the crosswalk. And actually all the lights turned red and everybody crossed in all directions. And that surprised me. I had never seen that. And so I waited there again, and I was like, okay, maybe that was a fluke. Waited for the light to change, and all the lights turned red. Everybody started crossing again in the all through the crosswalk. And so I was just going in one direction, but I ended up going diagonally because I was pulled to cross in the middle of the street. Waited for the light cycle, walked back diagonally across the middle of the street. And then I actually had changed my walking route to school from going down Bush Street to cross over New Montgomery. I would actually turn quickly in order to use that diagonal crosswalk every day. So I didn't realize what that was for me until I moved back to Columbus in 2002. I had changed from an art degree to a health degree. My dad died of cancer, so I had that I want to help cure cancer. Well, at the same time, I assumed that I could maintain the same lifestyle here. So waiting for the bus, taking the bus, walking, riding my bike. Realized real quickly riding my bike was not happening with these Midwestern streets. The streets here, really, really wide. Drivers drive really, really fast. And what was astonishing was the hatred. The hatred that I felt. The vitriol of coming up behind me and almost hitting me. So I've been hit twice. I've had a water bottle thrown at me, sexually harassed, and I have been threatened with my life. And since then, I have been interested in understanding that psychology. So coming here, trying to get acclimated, I kind of look around and start finding nonprofits, bike ped nonprofits. So I find a couple, start volunteering as much as I can, and then I start educating myself on city design, on laws, and just trying to understand that mental difference here in the Midwest. And so that's kind of where I started things. I didn't understand why I was doing the same thing a lot of people were doing in their cars. I was going to my jobs, I was going to school, except I was just doing it the way that I had become comfortable with in another city. And I realized then that I was treated as less than. I was treated as not a human being, but an object. And that enraged me. So, I continued on with these advocacy organizations, and we got a 3-foot law passing a while ago. Common sense, you would think that if you're driving up to a person, a vulnerable user riding a bike, you would pass them with respect. Right. Well, we don't have much respect in terms of legality. So we were able to get that law passed, and then also noticing that I didn't see a lot of women riding bikes. And so that was a big thing for me. In 2013, I actually was able to, I got chosen to do a TED Talk, and my TED Talk was on the importance of seeing women riding bikes. And why it is important to see women riding bikes is because women are the majority, we are seen as indicator species. So we are majority responsible for households, the chores. We run the majority of the errands still. We drop and pick up kids from school. We have our full-time and part-time jobs. And so when you are seeing women doing all of these errand runnings and their jobs and they're riding a bike, it is a really positive sign for the city, right? If all you saw were men riding bikes, women would probably, I would think, that seems dangerous. All I'm seeing are dudes riding bikes. But if women are seeing other women riding bikes and they've got kids in tow and they have groceries in their back racks, you know, they're encouraged to say, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it. It's also humanizing our streets. How many people got here in a car? How many people walked? How many people biked? How many people rode public transit? All right then. So what I am interested in is, why have we become okay with the design of our streets in which the way that they are? If you think of the design of our streets, it prioritizes cars and storage facilities. And we are left with, vulnerable users are left with everything else. Breadcrumbs is what I call it, right? So the consulting firm that I started 4 months ago is called Epic Small. And what I've been doing for almost 10 years is I've been trying to chisel away at this kind of substandard city design and status quo design in order to get all of us to think about and look at and experience streets differently. If you think about right now, one of your favorite places to visit, shout out one word or 2 words what you love about that city. How does it make you feel? Shout it out. Don't be shy. Okay? Food. Say that again?
Laid back.
Laid back. Okay? All right. Are the cities that you're thinking of, I mean, are they exciting?
Yes.
All right then.
Fun, vibrant.
So I don't know about you, but I want to live in the city that I want to live in. I want to live in an exciting city. I want to live where there's a variety of different nodes around this city that, you know, I'm walking out of my work and then there's a pink multicolored alleyway painted and then people are playing basketball in that alleyway, right? It's getting to get people to think about that there's so much more potential to our public spaces and our streets than what we currently are using them for, which is bypassing and storage, right? So what can we do? Change is really difficult for everybody. So you chisel away, right? You do small little projects. I do small little projects to get people to just look at public space differently. I was working for a developer for a little over a year, and it was a great job, but there was probably like 9 or 10 months into it, I felt this kind of like, I felt this thing, and I didn't know what it was, and I was designing the public spaces for this particular developer, but I wasn't 100% fulfilled, and I was trying to figure out what it was. And I realized what it was the advocacy component. You know, when we talk about impact, I think about how I want to be remembered when I'm gone. Yeah. And I want to be remembered as somebody who agitated and challenged the status quo in terms of how we use and think about and experience our city streets. I do it because I care. I do it because I observe and I watch people crossing the street, almost getting hit in crosswalks, and you don't do a damn thing. And I wish people would be more vocal about the spaces in which are supposedly designed for you, but you have cars hitting you and you have cars encroaching upon your space, right? I want people to be more vocal. I knew I did the right thing because my mom asked, Jessie, how do you feel? Are you sad that you left? And I said, nope, like without hesitation. I said, no. You know, I want to go into communities and just open up people's eyes and provide them a new lens in which they look at their neighborhoods differently. We deserve so much more in our neighborhoods and our cities, and everybody should realize that our quality of life revolves around the built environment, and I don't think that necessarily connects with everybody. And streets connect everybody. Yeah. It's just how you use them, and we're not using them effectively, in my opinion. We're not using them effectively. We're not using them for the fullest potential. We can have life in the streets, and we can use them to move ourselves, and the sky is not gonna fucking fall. This is a big deal. The sky will not fall, and the city won't end, and you might get 2 seconds added onto your commute. But it means this much to me when I'm seeing, you know, there was a light taken out. This older woman on the news this morning on Champion. She's standing on the corner with her handmade signs. This grandmother, because there's kids flooding that neighborhood over there, Champion and Whittier, kind of near where I live. She's standing on the corner with signs saying, "I want the light back. I want cars to slow down." And kids are all over that area trying to cross the street, trying to get to school, right? I mean, it's things like this that I feel like we take for granted because we are single occupancy user dominated. And I wish, you know, I will be the one to nag and chisel all for the right reasons, because it's all about safety, it's all about quality of life. And, you know, cities are doing some really cool shit when it comes to streets and public spaces. And I'm sick and tired of talking about other cities. I want to talk about Columbus. You know, so that's another reason why I continue to agitate. I don't know when I started.
We're good. I do have a question. I always have a question.
Right.
So as far as like ways that we can kind of help, you know, change mindsets, you know, and be progressive in this thinking, what are ways, instead of, you know, we get caught in our day-to-day, or we get caught in this frame of thinking, I mean, when it comes to even just, you know, sidewalks and transportation, all the way to just like how we think and are operating. Any advice on that? I
mean, first and foremost, I would say respect and safety. You know, great example is you know, you're waiting at a red light and cars are stacking up and there's a mid-block crosswalk and you park your car over the crosswalk. You know, to me, that's arrogant and entitled, because we're not seeing pedestrians. You may never see a pedestrian cross that particular crosswalk, but it doesn't mean that you can just park your car and idle it over the crosswalk. You know, what if somebody's in a wheelchair trying to get from the east side to the west side of the street? So it's just kind of little things like that where, again, we're entitled and arrogant about this because our streets have been designed for this entitlement and arrogance. We don't think about any other vulnerable users because we're trying to get from A to B as quickly and conveniently as possible. So I would say safety, and just be aware of your surroundings. And please fucking yield in crosswalks. Or before crosswalks, not in them.
Questions?
I love what you're doing, because I live in German Village, and that local cantina crosswalk, yeah. Like I see, I mean, even us, our friends have a baby, we all have to crowd the baby to make sure we don't get hit when we turn on the light.
Yeah.
And we get honked at.
Yes.
But have you seen women on bikes grow since Pelotonia has hit Columbus? Have you seen an increase in?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen more women grow. I actually, in 2012, I started a social women's bike ride. We just cruise, because I'm a slow bike rider. I like the journey. I like hanging with the girls and grabbing a drink. So yes, I have in that context, and I also think that getting women to ride socially has helped as well. Just getting them to hear other women's stories, and, you know, with the variety of riding levels, people are talking about the predictable and proper ways to ride, which is fantastic. So I have seen an uptick definitely in all types of riders. Yes.
All right, one more question. Go ahead.
What's the name of your women's
Babes Slow Roll Ride. Next Wednesday I'm going to try to do one more ride before the end of the year. I've been really busy.
Thank you so much.